Set up. Yep, there we go. Thank you for the allowing us a quick dinner break. When you're on the road, man, we left Tampa, well, seems like eons ago. But we jump in the car, drive, do an event, jump in the car and drive, do an event, 2 a days here on the West Coast. They're going to be 1 a days, so we got a little further drives in some places. Over on the East Coast, we're doing 3 a day, because a lot of the places we're going are, super close. So we'll do a couple-hour event. That's the whole thing, because we don't need to spend all day, being long-winded. It's a quick hit in and out. Share the information about unity, and then hopefully, it spreads from there, right? That's what we're looking for, is to share the vision that the Creator has given Lewis. And I buy into Lewis and I have had private discussions for well over a year. That's one of my pet peeves, if you will, of this community, of the Truth or Patriot community, that we can't get any unification. There's, everybody's off doing their own different thing. And I understand, we're not some cult. We don't want everybody, marching in lockstep and believe in every single thing that we believe. But I think I would hope, that's one of the things that's inside me. It just puzzles me, is why there's so much. And now, as time has gone on, I realize that there's lots of ego. Some people may not be in it completely for we the people. They're in it for themselves. There's a selfish aspect. I can tell you from a personal experience, my own personal testimony. Early on, before my awakening and moving into a better place spiritually, I was kind of selfish. I was doing things that would benefit me and my family, right? And once it was like flipping a switch, just making a decision. I'm gonna serve others rather than serve myself. And then as soon as I did that, doors open, opportunities were there, the resources, the money, whatever. I've been blessed beyond belief, just by doing the work, and working for other people. And I know I think Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, right, is if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And you don't give to get, that's not the proper attitude to have. But I mean, the principle of that, and we talked, before while we were eating, mentioned that Pareto principle. And we're looking for 100% buy-in to, what we need to do to move forward and save our republic and, maintain our sovereignty and our, freedoms that we're supposed to have, that God gave us. And so if we don't, put aside some of our own personal ambition and just do the work of we the people, it's going to take way longer. So, I mean, like I said, from personal experience, serving others is way more fulfilling than other people. Just to see somebody's, when the light bulb goes on, for them when you're sharing some information, and then just to see the newbie, the newly awakened, somebody who's come out of their slumber, to see the excitement, and then the rabbit holes and the stuff that they're digging, it feeds energy upon energy upon energy. And that Pareto principle, we're only 20% of the people are going to do 80% of the work. Even in the Revolutionary War, 3% of the people wanted to fight and get away from England. Most of the people there wanted to stay back and loyal to the crown. But so where would we be have had that 3% not showed up? There's tons and tons of principles. The more I research, the more I see how everything is connected. And if we got to connect to one another. And you had mentioned while we were eating the Patriot Groups, that started all over the place. Mm-hmm. If there's one thing that I can impart to anybody watching or here, is if you do not have a local, I mean, we're talking like super local, in your community, a group, we call them Patriot Groups. People are looking to do stuff, are pissed off enough to put their hat in the ring, if you don't have one that you can go to and start one. I'm blessed beyond measure where I live in Pinellas County, fed up with what was going on in the schools and the masking and all that stuff with the children. So they started meeting in a house, what can they do, and then that grew and grew, and then they moved from a house to a small coffee shop, and the coffee shop, now we're in this restaurant with a room that probably holds 300-400 people. They meet twice a month on the second and fourth Wednesdays, and every meeting that they have, there's close to 200 people, 200, 250 that show up there every single meeting. So they're super active. It takes a little while to grow to there, but like I said, it started with 2 moms in a house, and now our Facebook page, their Facebook page is called Town Hall Patriots. It's a private group, but they got over 1,500 people on their Facebook page, 200 people twice a month, and we are making changes. We're pushing, the school board stuff and trying to get, good people in there. Same thing with the county commission, Pinellas County. We get to have access to a lot of the candidates. They want to come in and give their spiel, so you can get some more closer one-on-one time with some of the candidates to interrogate them, because that's what we have to do. So that's the number one thing. If I can stress, if you don't do anything else, try to find or start your own Patriot group of people, like-minded people that we can, and it's not just a bitch session, right? Come together and piss and moan and complain about how everything's wrong. Let's look for solutions. Let's look for, and then how can we, there's 2 people today. Next week, let's, everybody bring one. That's going to be 4, and then 8 and 12, and it becomes exponential. So that's one of the biggest tips that I could pass along to anybody. If you don't have, start a Patriot group, and you can find them on Facebook if you're playing that game, or there's a meetups.
Yeah. So in fact, I have it in the back of the room. I'm evaluating something called meetup.com. And it actually looks like they're doing a pretty good job in a way you can find Patriot groups and organizations that think and like-minded people. We have an app that's going to take care of that for you coming out. But in the meantime, if you go to meetup.com, you can find a lot, which is really, really cool. You can find things that are going on in the area. In fact, we're going to be reaching out to a couple of the organizations here in the next few days. So I would definitely go there. It's interesting. It's kind of it's a rough road to haul. As you know here, there's a lot of apathy in the community, and people say they want to fight and they don't want to, but they really don't. You know what I mean? There's a lot of talk going on. But here's what's interesting. I was just talking to Andrew in the back, and he was telling me that in order to make special forces in the military, it's 1 out of 1,000. And the reason why that really hit home with me, because they're on the front line, and like Andrew says, the other 1,000 are supporting that one person. So, but it hit me. What I've been saying a lot lately, as you know, right, is it takes 0.1% in order for us to take our country back. Ironically, 1 in 1,000 is 0.1%. So there's a correlation there that I think is really, really cool. And what do I mean by that? So if you have a population of, say, 30,000 in a town, and 0.1% show up, that's 1 in 1,000, 30 people. If you take 30 people into a school board meeting or board of supervisors meeting out of 30,000, you just won. You just got the job done. As long as you are all on the exact same message, and that's the key. What happens is, I've been at several board meetings in different counties and different cities. What happens that we noticed is people go in completely unorganized, right? Well, one will say this about the water, one will say this about the kids, one will say this about the voting, and 5 of them will be reading Bible verses, right? Clearly, there's nothing wrong with reading Bible verses, but that's, the board of supervisors love that. They're like, oh, cool. We don't have to do anything. We have to listen to a Bible verse. We'll say, okay, thank you very much, and they'll go on to the next person. So to them, that's what they want. They want everybody in there reading the Bible, and they want everybody in there mixed and not being on the same page. What they don't want, and I use this analogy often, so let's assume you have a piece of glass in your hand, Oh, you have one? Oh, look at this. So crystal, even better. So you have crystal in your hand, and I use this analogy a lot, and it makes sense. May I borrow that pencil? Thank you. I was hoping she would throw it to
You
me.
caught it nicely. You could put an eye out with that thing.
So if I take, say, a 20, 25-pound weight, right? Boom, and set it on top of this, nothing happens to the crystal whatsoever. But if I take that same weight and put it on top of the pencil, on top of the crystal, this crystal will crack. It will break. So why that's important, I'll give you that one. Why that's important is because it shows you that any focused action is more powerful than unfocused action, right? So I would say plead, because I'm getting to the point where people are not understanding this. I'm pleading with people to get this concept is so important. Yes, you may have 10 issues. Take your top 2, right? Get everybody on page with the top 2. Go into your school boards, your board of supervisors meeting, and just hammer them with the top 2. Bore them with the top 2. And what they'll do is they'll cave, because they can't take focused action, right? So, but what happens is when you're all spread out, they're just, all they're doing is timing the meeting. They can't wait till the meeting's done, and they're gone, and they know, okay, we'll get it. Next month, we just have to play the same game. Because they don't care, right? But when we're focused, they care only because they're intimidated. Does that make sense? So let's think of, exactly. So let's think about the groups that are very effective with focused action. Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah. How about Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, the bad guys are pretty
They're very, very focused. They want one of two things. So defund the police or something else. And they get it. It's focused action and intimidation. Well, we can use intimidation in numbers. We just don't have to throw Molotov cocktails, right? It's very, very, very important that we now have to be the stronger, louder voices. But here's the interesting thing, is the baddies have less than 5%, but they're so loud and so boisterous, they intimidate everybody into doing what they want, right? Great. So if we have, let's say we only have 50% and 45% just they don't really care. It's possible. Our 50% versus their 5%, overnight, if we decided to stand up and speak loudly and proudly on 1 or 2 issues, they're done. And the next time, guess what? You move on to 2 more issues, and then 2 more issues, and 2 more issues. So the challenge I have, and I know I kind of get why this happens, is the difference between the Democrats and Patriots. And I don't say Republicans, that's a whole other story. Don't get me started on the Rhino Republicans. So you have the Democrats, right? They're unilaterally on the same message all the time, right? Not the right message in my opinion, but they're unilaterally on the same message. We are, as conservative patriots, we're more independent thinkers. We actually have 2 brain cells to rub together, right? So the challenge with that, though, is our independence is a great thing. It's also our downfall, because our egos get in the way of getting on the same page, organizing, being leaders, right? And being great followers at the same time. Because the key is you find a group of 20 people, and you have to look at their strengths. Who's the best speaker? Great, you have that. Who's the best writer? You've got that. Who's the best one at taking notes? Obviously, you do fantastic at that. I've been watching the whole time. These are the things we need to do. So we need to run our Patriot movement more like a business. And it will be extraordinarily effective, right? But the beauty is it's just 1/10 of 1%. And it really, really is. It is not that many people at all. So how many people are in Bakersfield? Okay, so let's go with 500,000. So what's 1/10 of 1% of 500,000?
Is it 500?
There you go. Bing, ding, ding. You got it. So it's 500. Imagine if right now 1 out of 1,000 took the time to be here tonight. That's a game changer. That's a game changer. Everybody would be talking about what happened in Bakersfield. Not because everybody showed up, because 1 out of 1,000 showed up. That's how powerful this is. So the good news is it's only 1 out of 1,000 people. That's the good news. The bad news is it's tough to get that. But we can get there. And it will build, Bruce nailed it, it's going to build exponentially. It will. We've seen it in other cities and other places. So it may suck right now, but you'll get there. You'll.
Gives you a chance to cool things down a little bit before you get there with the big crowd.
Yeah, well, we've had the big crowds already, so we're.
Yeah, I know, but when you're just beginning sort of in a way.
Yeah, and it goes,
Yeah.
and for us, it's been a roller coaster. We have like a big crowd, a small crowd, a big one, a small one. You know?
Right.
So, and it's fine. It doesn't, we never know. And it doesn't, what we do, totally agree on, whoever's here is supposed to be here.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. And it's gonna go.
And sometimes we talk to a few people, and it's a lot more powerful. Now, online, we're always, somewhere we range between 6,000 and 20,000 people on every single stop. So there's a huge online audience, right? And hopefully we're touching the hearts of them too. But the reason why we're traveling is it's just because God put it on my heart. That's all it was. That's all. I had no intention of ever doing another
That's pretty big.
truth tour. I mean, that's it though, and it's simple. And I say this, and I think Bruce, you're starting to really feel this too. If it's simple, it's God's work, right?
But simple doesn't necessarily mean easy.
Simple
right?
never doesn't mean easy, but it's simple. It's focus, action. It's really simple. It's Lewis, go do a unity tour, get out there and connect with the people and see if we could all work together to make this country great again.
Because some of our best interactions and gatherings that we've had are with the smaller number of people, because you can get intimate. We can find out, hey, what's going on here. If there's 500 people here, it's hard to have that type of intimacy. So if we do a shotgun type of approach, right? We're just speaking generalities. We're here. We can kind of laser in on a couple of things, and that's even as a greater whole movement, the whole of our movement needs to be better at, rather than just do the shotgun approach, we need to be more sniperish, right?
Yep.
And focused in our action. Where I love I don't think he came up with it, but he says it a lot, Tony Robbins, where focus goes, energy flows. But that's how we can do the manifestation and create your own reality through your thoughts, and everything is the mindset of people and how we look at life in general is going to determine tons of stuff. So that's why I believe that God has put me on this path to share my own. I'm not some great guru that has all the answers. I don't know squadoosh, right? I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut. So, but I'm an open book. I'm willing to screw things up. Ask my wife; she'll tell you I screw up every time. But I never fail, right? I either win or I learn how something is not supposed to go. So you get having that mindset. So that's why I'm pushing on that stuff. And my show is open book. It's a blog or a videos window into my life and my struggles. I'm open and honest about the struggles that I have, in dealing with this situation that we're in, and the apathy, and how come people can't see it. I'm sure that you have family members and friends. And even people, that just to call us crazy, they don't get it, right? They're the ones, the three types of people. They're wondering what the hell's going on, right? We're making things happen. We understand, and once the veil is lifted or the scales fall off your eyes, you're able to see. That you have to scream from the rooftops. You just can't sit quietly, the Bible talks about out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. When you got some information, when God puts something on you, you can't help but share it. And that's, we need more people to get, serious about this. And then, like I said before, there's not enough pain. We haven't suffered enough here in the United States. Because if you're not even paying any attention whatsoever, you're just going through your daily life, go to work, come home, turn on the 6 o'clock news, have a dinner, put the kids to bed and do that 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, you do soccer, whatever. If you're not paying attention to the grand scheme, even people hate politics. That's that's one of the things they told us. You go to family gatherings, you don't talk about religion and politics. Well, those are two things that have been forking us over our entire lives. So that's the reason that they don't want us to talk about them. But once we get to that point where we're able to make our voices heard, it's a huge exponential domino effect. And living the best life that we can live right now, even when seemingly everything around us is burning. Like the guy on CNN, so it's a mostly peaceful protest and the freaking inferno behind the guy. Okay.
That's
No,
funny.
not okay.
So let's do something fun tonight. Y'all want to do a Q&A maybe? And any subject is totally okay. I mean, literally, you want to talk about reptilians on planet Zulu, that's fine. I have no knowledge on that whatsoever, but we can have a conversation in regards to that. I mean, we can talk about what do you think we can do better in Bakersfield, or what do you think the challenges are, or talk about the general election. Is there going to be an election? Anything whatsoever. Let's just have a good time and have a nice conversation. What do you think, Bruce?
I'm in.
Cool. Anybody?
The board meetings that you go to, there's so many boards. How do you pick which one to go to? And to be
Okay.
effective is what I want to do.
We'll repeat the questions too.
Yeah, so she's asking, when you go and see there's so many different boards, how do you choose which one to go to? It depends also if you have any passion or specific, because a lot of them are compartmentalized, but they usually have a general, big, city council, or where I live, it's a county commission. And so, yeah, they might be subdivided into other groups for different tasks and projects and things that are happening. But the overall meeting, they post those online. They have to post, their agenda, their meeting schedule, number one, and they have to post their agenda for that meeting. They have to post that, it's law, it's required for them to post the agenda, what they're going to be going over on that meeting. So you can go to the website, doing simple searching, find your local, whether it's a city council, county commission, board of supervisors, whatever entity is in your area, because there's different terminology all over the place. Find out that website, find out when the meetings are, and then the agenda, and make sure you look at the agenda, what's on that agenda. Most of the time, quite honestly, going to these meetings, it's boring. I mean, you see how the sausage is made, but you have to be there and be aware of what's going on, because they'll slide something in. That's why it's so important. If you've never been, to a county commission meeting, or in school board meetings are the same thing. They have to post, the school board of your local area has to post when their meetings are, and they have to post the agenda for that meeting and what they're going to be talking about. And so you can see that online. Some of them stream their meetings online, so you don't have to go there physically. I like to, be there physically when I'm home. It's better in person. And then they get to know you and see your face there all the time. And you can, bring people with. So if they understand that they're being watched, right? If there's people there, right?
They don't seem like they listen to you at all, though.
They come across that they don't, right? They don't want to, but we make them listen like you said, with numbers.
Let me backtrack, because I want to tell you a story that's connected to this, and I think it'll be a very interesting story. So in 2018, in Orange County, California, there was an election, and when you went to bed, 5 out of 5 Republicans won the seat. When they woke up, all 5 Democrats had the seat. So it was the first time they tried ballot harvesting in Orange County, California. Just a coincidence that this is what happened, right? So they brought a whole bunch of ballots in the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning, and the next thing you know, all the Democrats took their seats. Now, if anybody understands Orange County, California, that's a conservative town, right? So 5 Democrats take those seats in a conservative town. So what was the reason for that? Why Orange County? Why did they do it there? Well, do we think that they were testing out ballot harvesting The answer is no. They weren't testing out ballot harvesting because the CIA has been doing ballot harvesting in other countries for decades. They play this game to install whatever leader they want for the deep state in other countries. I know people, literally, I know 2 people that were part of the operations, right? They regret it because they thought they were installing somebody good, and it turns out they were installing, a deep state asset. So they already knew that ballot harvesting worked, so why on earth would they have done it in just one county? What they were testing is the reaction of the people. And this is no exaggeration. Every single Republican that had any, status whatsoever said this: well, we'll get him next time. So at that, exactly, because the Republicans don't fight back. Republicans have been MK Ultra'd to believe certain things. And I'll give you an example, and then we'll go back to a success that happened in Orange County. So, not to upset anybody here or anybody online, but if you watch somebody named Sean Hannity, he's a CIA asset. And what Sean Hannity does all the time is he tells you, if you're conservative, it's not dignified to protest. It's not dignified to raise your voice. It definitely don't boycott. He goes off on anybody that boycotts. All these things that we should be doing because they're proven to be extraordinarily effective, he's telling. Now what controlled opposition does is they tell you everything you want to know until it comes to the important stuff. Fox News is a great example. I used to watch Fox News. Everybody would watch Fox News. They grabbed all the market share, and then who was the first to call Arizona for Biden? Fox News, with 20-some% of the vote. It's ridiculous, right? By the way, that year, President Trump had a 97-mile caravan that went through Arizona. But yet we're supposed to believe with 25 or 27% of the vote, Biden won Arizona. He didn't. He was the first to call it because they're a controlled asset. And this is what people don't understand. Because they do so many good things, give us so much good information, they seem to always be on the right side, except when they're not. And that's the game of controlled opposition. So what happens is those people that we've been watching for decades have always been telling us, just stand down, don't worry. Even your churches. Many people don't know this, but the word meek is completely manipulated. We're taught that meek means docile, meek means patient, meek means relaxed, don't stand up, everything's going to be fine. That's not, if you go read the origins of meek, meek means stand up and be counted. Meek means fight for somebody else that can't fight for themselves. That's the true meaning of meek. So when you read Matthew 5:5 and you hear the meek shall inherit the earth, they're not talking about the people that do nothing. They're talking about the people that do something. Isn't that interesting? Why would the churches manipulate that? Because that's how they control us, right? They got to get that 10% tithing, so they'll manipulate us to believe that meek is just like, okay, it'll happen. It's not. And everybody, I would say, anybody watching here or online, don't trust me. Go look up, put the origins of meek. You're probably not going to find much on Google, but use alternative search engines. You'll be blown away what that means. So, and this is not a Bible discussion, but I'll just let you know that Moses, who traveled through the desert for 40 years, many times was called meek. Is somebody that travels through the desert for 40 years meek? Not according to the definition we know, right? And Jesus called himself meek. Clearly Jesus was powerful. Clearly Jesus wasn't meek. And I'm sure he wasn't meek when he was flipping over tables either. Right? So these are the manipulations that we have to deal with in the conservative movement, right? So this is why I would not look to any leader. Only reason why I trust President Trump is because he's taking down the bad guys, right? But doing it, not saying it, he's doing it. Not like the rhinos say it and they don't do it. It's called the Lindsey Graham effect, right? They have big, huge voices and they do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. So President Trump, in my opinion, has done a lot the first 4 years, and I believe if we can get him in, he's going to do a heck of a lot more. I mean like arrests and so on and so forth. He just said that. So back to Orange County. I didn't forget this, but it all ties together. So what happened in 2000, was it 20? Yeah. It was 21. So what happened is, I find it to be very interesting. The Orange County, of all places, and that's who enforced the mandates. Think about it. It was your restaurants, it was your hotels, it was your stores, and the reason why all the little mom and pop shops weren't allowed to open, think about it, why?
They couldn't control them.
Because they can't control them. But they certainly can control a Home Depot, they can control a Target, they control the big, isn't it interesting that the fast food chain stayed open? Why is that? Because they can be controlled. So that's what we're dealing with. We have to understand our enemy if we're going to defeat our enemy, right? And that's our enemy. And it's we live within what I call a corpocracy. People like to say corporatocracy, and I say drop a syllable. It's unnecessary. So we're in a corpocracy is what we really are. But when we understand our enemy, we can win. And the most powerful word in the English language is no. It is extraordinarily powerful. The question is, do we have the voice to say it? Are we willing to stand up in the face of maybe being arrested? Sucks. Are we willing to stand up and possibly lose a pension? Well, my wife and I, we lost everything, literally, just for standing up. We had a $2.5 million business. We were just about ready to be out of debt. We never took a paycheck throughout the business. The next month, we were going to actually start taking money out of the business, which would have been amazing. We started the Truth Tour 1. Next thing you know, nobody wanted to buy my business. We closed it. $2.5 million business, gone. And I'm so proud of what we're doing today, it doesn't even affect me. Because what we leave for our children and the children coming 4, 5, 10 generations from now is what's more important than my business or our pension or anything else like that. So we have to take some risks to win. The cabal knows this. So everything is something that can hold over our heads. You know what I mean? They understand it. I believe they understand the numbers way before I did. I believe they know that if 1/10 of 1% of the people stand up and say, we're not taking any more, they're done. So they're doing everything they can. Now, so that's all bad. Let's talk about the good. The reality is, a few years ago, if there was a news story or a politician said something or a corporation did something crazy, it would take weeks to expose them. Weeks. And what happens is, we already know we're on a 24-hour news cycle, right? So weeks means that story is long gone. It's out of the collective consciousness. Nobody can talk about it anymore. It doesn't matter. But now, we are noticing, and this is not even an exaggeration, within minutes on certain social media platforms, the narrative's completely destroyed. Politician comes out in seconds, which digital warriors out there, nope, that's not true, here's what's going on. Boom, gone. I saw it a year ago with monkeypox. They tried to push the monkeypox.
Yep.
We shamed that it's silly, right? Yeah. And it's played. In the neighboring state, Virginia, 2 people in the whole year got it. But guess what? Within an hour, I was out there going, hey guys, look at this, blah, 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 blah. Completely defused the narrative. Not that I did it myself, but one of the digital warriors out there did it. So the good news is we are winning this war. It may not feel like it because today a whole bunch of people may not have showed up, or your friends, your family members aren't showing up. They're not stepping up. Don't worry about it. It takes one pebble in the water to make a ripple, and everything can change. And the good news is we're grassroots, boots on the ground guys, including Andrew, and we can tell you that we see a difference. In fact, I'm so proud to say that over a year, I've been asking people to do something really cool. I said, here's what you do. If you really want to win this war against the school boards, create your own school board. People are like, what? That's crazy. No, create your own school board and invite all the parents into your school board. You know what I mean? Even have a student representative in your school board and build your own school board. And I'm going to guarantee you you'll have more people show up to your school board than their school board. Now guess what you have? You have the authority and the power. You literally took it right from them. They're not going to know what to do. You send your minutes over there, and then when they do not comply, guess what you do? You send everybody that was in your meeting with a singular message over to them in one day and hammer them. They'll probably quit. I'm happy to say that the first time in a year, somebody has taken us up for 3 people in Jacksonville, Florida, said, we're going to do it. They're this message, right?
So what do you do about unconstitutional sheriff?
Well, okay, let me rephrase that. What do you do about 3,000 unconstitutional sheriffs?
Until you fire them,
Yes, so,
have them go unconstitutional somewhere else.
so, when do sheriffs get elected in this area? Do they get elected in the primary times, they get elected in a separate election, or is it a general election?
Seems like a separate local election.
And a lot of times they'll connect the county to a primary election at the same time. So it gets into a completely different story, one of my biggest frustrations here. So this will connect to that. But this is how we win.
Okay.
So we are convinced, by the way, we have to think, every time we hear messaging, loud messaging, 99% of the time, we should do exactly the opposite. The loud messaging is a control mechanism. So what do we hear? We hear general election, general election, general election. It's always about the general election. I'm here to tell you that other than the presidential election, the general elections are never a won or lost your candidate in the general election. They've already won in the midterm. Here's why. In the primary, thank you. Here's why. So in the primary, they've already got their Democrat laid up. That's their deep state asset, the Democrat, right? So they don't need to support their Democrat whatsoever in the primary. Doesn't matter. Because the rhino is the guy that they need to put all their money and time behind it. And if you've ever looked at primaries, you'll notice that all the effort seems to be going towards a Republican candidate, not the Democratic candidate. The reason why is because if they can get the rhino in there, right? A lot of times they do the split the vote game. You've seen that. They'll run 5 Republicans up there, right, knowing that they can draw it. And then at the last second, 2 of them will say, oh, I support this guy. And that guy gets it. That guy's always the rhino. Never is he the We the People candidate. Never, right? So all of our focus should be in the primary. Because if we can keep their rhino out of the primary, you win. You win. Because you have the We the People, the constitutional candidate in there. They know that. So what the problem is you get, if you're lucky, 27% to show up in a primary. That's all the door knocking and all the effort should be in the primary. Because as soon as they get the rhino in, they already have their Democrat in. They know the election's won for them.
Yeah.
They don't have to put any into the midterms and in general. They don't have to put any effort whatsoever.
Midterms and primaries, I think that 27% number might be a little generous.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's one of their little tools that they're banking on, a lack of interest, so that there is less people that they have to deal with in trying to get what they want in. So they're counting on the apathy of people not showing up. Everybody just wants to go, to the big party, the presidential election every 4 years, and that's probably one of the least important ones. Right?
No, it is the least important
Yeah.
one. And in fact, if you read the way the Founding Fathers' documents are written, the president virtually has no power. They've created an office where they have a lot of power, right? Exactly, corporate power. So a president is supposed to do what? State of the Union speech, or the War Powers Act, and national emergency. That's it. You're not really supposed to even hear from the president other than those 3 things. That's it. But they flipped it on its head, so that they're making it so the president has all the power, right? So, and they get every. The real important thing is 100% what Bruce is saying. It's the local governments. Because if we could fix all or even a large percent of our local governments, the micro we'll fix the macro. But of course, where's the focus? Presidential election.
Obvious that they're working for the League of Cities, which is a part of the UN.
Absolutely.
So League of Cities teaches the city hall people who just get there as a position, how do I do this job? They go tell them how to do the job.
Absolutely.
Then they place city managers and city attorneys that are placed by the governor or someone up higher in these cities. And then when they screw it all up, they move them to another city. And they screw all that up. And they spend time on beautification and everything but. And we can't get anything on the agenda without going through the city manager, which is illegal.
Right. Can you summarize that for everybody at home real quick? And then
Yeah.
I'll tell you some more good news. That's
Yeah, she's talking about League of Cities, and it's a conglomeration. It's a planned effort to come in and take city managers and control that are controlled by other parties, World Economic Forum, United Nations specifically, that they're infiltrating is the best word, infiltrating the cities to get their agenda done, make it look like they're doing stuff, but they're really not. And they move them around just like they did all the priests in the Catholic Church when they were the shell game that they're playing.
They're also, by the way, the ones that created the 15-minute cities.
Yeah.
Same organization. So here's the good news. Those are all bureaucrats, right? Those are all unelected officials that we're talking about. Is anybody familiar with the overturning of the Sherron Defence, the decision from the Supreme Court? Okay, this is huge. I think this is the biggest decision in the last 40 or 50 years. And it's going to be huge. So in the 80s, they came up with something called the Sherron Defence. And what it was is, they gave the power of Congress to unelected bureaucrats to make decisions, placing people where they want, giving them power, and having the power to fine you, hold you accountable, and even suggest jail time if you didn't comply to something, right? It's huge. So the NGOs just loved it. The non-governmental organizations loved it, right? Because then all the financing went through them. They can do everything they want, make the decisions on the money. Well, constitutionally, that was wrong. You're supposed to have a 2/3 vote. Sometimes you can get a 50 plus vote, but it depends on so on and so forth. But it's supposed to go through our constitutional process, right? House, the Senate, and get signed off by the president. Well, by doing that in the 80s, they did it under the guise of it's going to be a lot more streamlined, therefore they put this bill through. So this was brought up to the Supreme Court a few months ago, and they overturned the decision from 40 years. What that has done is that's completely emasculated the deep state. That means they can't make any of these funding decisions. They can't pay any of these non-elected officials and these bureaucrats. So those are all going to disappear pretty soon, which is amazing for it. I think it is simply the biggest decision that's been made in decades. Now, where's the challenge? If we don't step up and test this Supreme Court action, we're going to stay exactly where we are today. So we have to be very aware. Anybody online, you have to be very aware of the Sherron Defence. So when you see non-elected officials making decisions, trying to impose fines and so on and so forth, take it to court. This has to go through the process. It has, even if it gets rejected, it has to end back up to the Supreme Court. It's very easy for them to say, hey, the decision's already been made. Nope, that's illegal. We need just one of them. But it has to be tested. If it's not tested, the deep state's going to completely do what they've been doing the whole time. You think they're going to bring it up? They're not going to mention it, but that's powerful. So that's the good news. That is an epic decision that we can use to our advantage if we test the system. And the reason why I talk about it all the time is if you guys see that going on, test the system. Say, no, that's illegal. Bring it to your local court. Let it go through the state. Let it go all the way up to the Supreme Court. And you may just be a hero of this country if you do that. That's how big that decision is.
Would you use an affidavit to do that?
Okay, writs and affidavits are amazing if they're written properly and effectively. I think we actually say that right here. Mm-hmm. Writing effective writs and affidavits right there. Okay. So, and we'll get into this and then we'll let you go. You want to go through this today since you're at a better angle than me? And online they're having a little trouble seeing it, so you may have to talk about it.
Not as clear and as big as we'd like. But sometimes it's easier to do this in this situation. Anyway, but the Freedom in Action website that Lewis initially created to house and archive a lot of the banned videos of information and truth when all that stuff was happening. That's kind of, those things are still there, but they're on archive. We're retooling the Freedom in Action website to turn it into a tool bag that we can do. And all of these different things, they need to understand that they work for us, all these politicians. If an entity that you pay or is funded by taxpayer money, they work for you. They don't tell you what to do. You tell them what to do in a respectful and bold manner. But anyway, how everybody can make a difference. There's kinds of different things that everybody can do. Everybody has a different passion or a purpose, right? Some of the hot button, like good school board meetings, or somebody might be in health freedom type stuff.
There's a huge list.
Yeah, it's a big, big list. So what we've compiled is through, we did a tour called the Freedom in Action Tour, boot camp, where we thought we were going to go into these different cities. Here in California, we did one in Florida, that we're going to go and share information and teach these people how to do, because that's one of the biggest things that we have heard as we travel around is, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. I don't know. So we thought we were going to go give information, but we're the ones who got schooled, right? Because there's many other people out there that are doing much smarter than Lewis and I, but they're out there on the ground in their local community, hashing out. They know what works, what don't work. So we took successes and failures, and we learned. We came up with this whole list of, writing letters is extremely important and effective, and also put stuff on the record, because if you send the mail certified and you do your letters properly and you get the responses, you can actually weasel some information out of these people pretty easily through letters. How to effectively and peacefully protest, how to document corruption, boycott. To be a keyboard warrior, right? I mention all the time, people want to be a patriot until it's time to do patriot shit, right? But the keyboard warriors are still important. We share this information out, share the stuff that we're sharing. If you're, news stories, the local stuff, share, just keep pushing that information out to help. It's seeds that are being planted in people as they go around. How to hold your local politicians accountable, right? And it's all about getting things on the record. When you go and you speak at these meetings, you can do it in a certain fashion. Even I'm just for the record, because that's a part of the minutes of the meeting is the everybody speaking. They have to keep that stuff up to date. How to organize and support other meetings, Patriot meetings. Praying, manifesting, living without fear, those things are huge, very important. How to hold law enforcement accountable. These are all different topics that what's going to end up happening, they're not there now, they're not clickable links now, but they will as we begin to populate some generalized guidelines, outlines for how to do these certain things in these different categories. Then if your passion is school boards, you can click on the school board one and it'll give you a brief outline, because every county, every place is a little bit different, the terminology. So it'll be a generalized outline of what to do and how to do it and be effective. Learn the difference between lawful and legal and why both matter. Lewis mentions all the time about Trump, saying we need to do things lawfully and legally. Lawfully is that's the corporate
Natural law.
No, lawful is legally is the corporate law.
Right.
Lawfully is the natural law or common law type stuff. So we need to learn how to meld them. Right now they're standing out here separate, and we can't. I think natural law is where we need to be, the common law type stuff, but breaking into that system, bar system, and the judicial system that we have now, so we can work together, meld these things together and be much more effective.
To make the transition to where we need to be.
Right. Social media strategies. Social medias are fantastic tools, even though shadow bans and you get canceled. He lost his account just as we started the tour. He went to log on. Nope, Facebook's gone. I've been through 8 YouTube channels, a couple of Facebook accounts, a couple of Twitter accounts. I mean, if you're not getting kicked off of social media or getting strikes or checks or warnings or whatever, you need to step up your game, really.
So true. That's so true.
I mean, I get in more trouble for sharing memes Or they go back and they find a meme that I posted in 2017.
I know, it's crazy.
I'll do a live stream on Facebook, and where I'm calling out Mark Zuckerberg as being a reptilian clone, android, all saying everything you're not supposed to say, breaking all the community guidelines, and that stays. I don't get no warning of that. But I post a meme that's supposed to be funny in 2017, and they say, oh, this violated our community guidelines. I mean, nowadays on my YouTube channels, I don't get strikes anymore. They just send me an email, and the email, it's a standard all the time. We've reviewed your content, and we have found severe and repeated violations of our community guidelines. Therefore, we removed your content. So yeah.
What I say now.
Right. So, these are tools. These are weapons that we're using against them. They've used these weapons for evil, right? The data, Facebook is DARPA, it's LifeLog. It's a data collection situation. That's how they make their money. That's why it's free. Because they're collecting all of your information, all of your data, what you do, your vacation, all these different things, and then they know how to target you for advertising and such.
So everything's energy.
Robert?
So what I think is if whatever someone throws at you, just throw that same energy back.
Absolutely.
So that's why just
Yep.
copy what they're doing, just put it back to them.
Yeah.
I have 3 quick questions.
Sure.
Is BlackRock, did it file for bankruptcy?
Did BlackRock file for bankruptcy? I've not seen it in the public forum. I've heard multiple reports that they are, but I don't think they have filed for bankruptcy. What I do know for sure, though, is their positions on the stock market are over-leveraged like you cannot believe. So what's going to happen, I believe, we all know that a financial crash is imminent at this point, right? The writing's on the wall. So what happens is, that's, I think, the way BlackRock's going to be taken down. BlackRock and Vanguard. They're way over leveraged on some companies that we know are going to have a big, big problem. So I don't think you're going to see a BlackRock anymore, which would be really, really good. It's just different than a lot of people are thinking it's going to happen. They may file bankruptcy after that.
Are you familiar with primary water?
Primary? No. I've heard of structured water and a lot of other stuff.
Way different.
What's primary water?
Primary water is basically the water we're supposed to be drinking, which is under the Earth's crust. And the Earth's crust is like Empire State Building upside down.
I did hear of that. Yes,
So it's the molten pressing it
Yeah.
up. So really, we're getting our secondary water is what we're recycling, and the powers that think they are set it up so we can do that.
Right.
We can get ongoing pure water. We don't want to drink
Have you
water.
drinking primary water before?
Yes, spring water is primary water.
Okay. So there's still something wrong with it then.
You can tell by if it has that poisoned all the secondary water that we've been using.
On the whole world, interesting.
Yeah, so the primary water, how you can tell that's really coming from primary water, which is below the Earth's crust. Anything above the Earth's crust is secondary water. So that's what it is.
So what happens
It's
is,
a solution to water.
well, it's also because the Earth naturally cleanses our water, right? So the farther down it is, it would make sense that it would be more clean as it comes up. I would test primary water and spring water for deuterium, though. Because deuterium is something that it's 155 parts per million on average in all water sources on Earth, except 2, and those are 2 glacial sources. And the reason why that's important is it's an isotope that's attached to a hydrogen molecule that's kind of hidden on there, and it decreases our life by at least 30 years. So in the 2 places on Earth where there's deuterium depleted water, where it's about 125 parts per million instead of 155, those people live on average 30 years longer than we live. So
All I
it's
know is we
something
get
else.
scammed on the water. We don't have to pay for it, having reservoirs and wells.
We should never have to pay for it. Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's one of the things that we can actually.
Well, same
work
with electricity.
Is our basic needs, if we cover our own basic needs and don't depend on
Absolutely.
corporations, water is one of them, clothing, housing.
Yep, all of it. I
those
agree
kinds of
with it.
services. And then I had one more question. Are you familiar with MMS at all? Which is a sodium chemical. It's not sodium, but it's really close to sodium. And
MMS?
Oxygenated sodium, you could call it.
Interesting. No, I'm not.
What it does is clean out all the bad guys in your body and leave all the good guys in your body. So if you put MMS together with the V word, right?
Oh, we don't have to say the B word here.
Okay, so, yeah, exactly. Well, I
You can
just
say,
want-
you can say the F word and then follow it by the B word, and we'll be okay.
But
That
MMS,
fucking,
if you put those two together, so that can be a solution, the MMS with the B.
We'll check that out. So MMS, and you're saying it oxygenates the water, or
It's
or I'm gonna
actually
say
salt.
it's sodium.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's oxygenated salt, basically, would be the simplest way. From what I know,
Interesting,
I'm not an expert
interesting.
on that, but
No,
those are two
I'm-
questions.
yeah,
I'm-
it's a similar-ish,
Is that what Carol talks about?
a little bit. Scott has used it. It's a similar effect in helping clean and out and detox the body as chlorine dioxide type of
Okay,
situation.
very interesting.
You know, similar-ish in that is to get you in the right framework.
Cool. I'm going to check it out, for
When
sure.
I see overweight people, I don't see them eating like.
No,
this.
she's pointed at us when she said
Right,
that.
yeah. When I
She said-
see overweight
She said, when I
people-
see overweight people.
I see a toxic person, just check this out.
Now we're toxic. See,
toxic
she
person.
pointed at me on
Check
toxic.
it out, a toxic person, because the weight can't come off, because the body holds the toxins in the fat tissue.
Right.
And if it gets dumped into the bloodstream, it'll hurt the person, so the body will hold it until you do the
In
detox.
the,
That's why
in the
MMS
brown
is
fat,
so
to be
simple.
specific.
Brown
Yep.
fat,
Right.
exactly. Anyway, that's my few questions.
That's awesome. Love it. Anybody have any other questions before we close out tonight? Okay, easy peasy. We appreciate you. How about you have final words today and then lead us into the songs that are online?
If you're here, Freedom in Action, there's an app that's coming out. Just keep posted on that. Keep following Lewis about when that's going to be released. That's going to be a huge game changer, how you can connect with other people in your area. It's a multifaceted app that he's offering for free, right? It's tens of thousands of dollars to develop the app, and now he's giving it away for free. You know, we know that sowing and reaping thing, you know, we're not, you know, so God's already taken care of us. We got everything we need, but we can always use more. That's why it's so important to go to the unitytour.us and hit that donate button. Gas is expensive. I mean, Matt Geiger from Verity Metals helping us out, great, as a sponsor. Other people have continued to donate, but the gas is crazy expensive. I mean, eight miles to the gallon in the RV, and we're somewhere at 10,782 miles.
Yeah, right.
But there's tons of miles. So yeah, any donations would help. But yeah, we're just looking to cover expenses. It's not a money-making thing.
You can say 11,000 again now, because I just remember we're going to detour up to Spokane.
Oh, that's
and then
right.
back down to Pullman, so.
Yeah, and we didn't calculate in the Washington DC thing.
Oh, that's right.
So I have one more quick question again.
Sure.
The constitutional corral that I'm putting together in San Luis Obispo is a corral literally in the ranch with a beautiful setting in it to gather people to have conversations like this, and then also help people to educate them about their health.
That's
So
beautiful.
there's like a back door and doorway where people would never meet, will meet, and then it'll go from there. Do you have any suggestions on how to present that, or will you come speak when I get it together a year from now?
I will.
If you're coming through this way?
I will definitely come speak, even if I'm not coming through this way to support you.
Oh, beautiful. So that's where I got the corral. That's it so far.
It's not a golden corral, is it?
But but we're putting like seating in there and a little refreshment thing in the bathroom.
I'll be there.
And then we'll.
Yeah, I'd love
but
to.
Do you have any suggestions on how
join
we
me?
handle that?
Well, I mean, if you're,
Can I follow you and do
the-
something like that?
absolutely, it's like starting your own Patriot Group, you're focused
Right.
on some constitutional, information and education.
Right, Bill
You
of
know,
Rights, I think, is the biggest.
There's tons of people out there, and make sure you find a proper one that's gonna, divide that word properly.
That's right.
And, there's curriculums that you can just run through. Keep it super simple, try to keep it short and focused. You get too long-winded like we do sometimes, and then people's eyes glaze over.
I say 10-minute presentation and the rest of the whole hour conversation.
Yep, because conversation is huge, and that's one of the things that
Absolutely,
people miss out on by not, coming to an in-person event, is the networking aspect and the conversation. Because, you can exchange numbers, you don't know, you guys might live a mile from each other, and you can work together until you come to here. So we always encourage people to meet the other attendees of the event, exchange numbers, because working here in your local community is the key to taking this whole thing down.
Yeah.
Local action has national impact, like Flynn says. Micro fixes the macro. The white hats aren't going to come and fix your local school board.
So we're in San Luis Obispo, we drove down to Bakersfield, so it's a whole different animal over there. A lot of money, Hollywood, San Francisco, very toxic. It's a college, Cal Poly College, they're all way on the other side.
I was born and raised there, we were a conservative community.
Yeah.
The college came in.
I moved away, got married, and moved back, and I woke up from a bad drug habit, and got sober. My city was gone, my county was gone.
Yeah.
It jumped. Our city council was 5, that kind of thing.
They get selected.
Yeah.
We tried going against them, the mayor.
Do your 3-minute talk, you talk, they're on the computers, and they didn't.
Oh, they don't care.
You're done.
Call them out.
So they can't hear you online, so I'm going to repeat a little bit and then we have to go. So he's mentioning that in San Luis Obispo, they have 5 out of 5 Democrats that run the city council. What we also, I'm sure you've noticed, doesn't it appear that everything that comes up was already predetermined in the back room, so when they vote on it, it's a rubber stamp?
We can't even get on the agenda. We can't get anything on the agenda because it's stopped by the city manager, which is not legal.
Right.
The mayor left at one point during her period, she cut it short enough. They approved and they brought in their own mayor. They said, okay, they voted on it. They
Yeah,
didn't know that.
I know. So I know how it works, but the numbers, you'll win. You have to get the numbers, so it's all about getting numbers. And I'll leave you with this because there's been some effective work in regards to this, is it's time, guys, to go door to door and start knocking on doors and meeting people and saying, hey, here's what's going on. Are you aware of this? What do you think? Great. Can we get together and make a difference? You'll be surprised how effective that is.
Old school bullet pointed flyers.
And we've been conditioned, as we know, all of us over here seem like we're over 40 in this room, right? So we've been conditioned to not be neighborly anymore in general, right? And do you remember, back in the day, there were porches built on the front of houses.
Now they're in the back house.
They're always in the back now. See? It's a condition that they've created, because if you're neighborly, you get together, you can organize, right? If you can organize, you can make a difference. So let's put everybody in the backyard, right? Have the fancy backyards when nobody's in the front yard. So I used to actually own a construction company, and that's what I did, is I built beautiful, beautiful spaces for them to hang out in their yards, and I would always try to convince them to do something in the front. I remember a guy in Ventura that we built a whole front patio, and he called me a year later. He goes, do you know how many people I meet? And they come by my house. He's, hey guys, everybody that walks by, how you doing? And has these wonderful conversations. He felt like it gives him life extension, right? It's so important for us to get back into the community. They don't want you in the community. They want you too busy. They want you isolated from your dirty, nasty neighbors, right? We can't do that anymore. We have to knock on doors. Now, I'm not even doing that yet because I've been so busy, but my wife and I have talked about literally going and knocking on doors. I know other people have done it very effectively, so I would recommend doing that. You're going to find that you're not on an island, right? You're filled with a bunch of people that think exactly the way you do.
Just find them and meet in one place.
And then
have
you
fun.
all come by, and I guarantee you, the first day you show up with 30 people on the same page, the Board of Supervisors is going to go, whoa, what do we do? And then the next thing they're going to do is they're going to start creating actions to hold you accountable if you say the wrong thing, right? And then you fight back even harder. You bring 50 in there. And then they're going to try to weaselly around. And then finally they're going to get in a panic, and you're going to start to get some stuff done. And it's a process we've seen over and over and over again. And then eventually you will win. You'd be surprised. You will win, and you get your own board in there and stop playing games, because they work for us. That's the way it works. Hey, folks, if you're thinking about going to one of our events, I don't know how many we have, like 36 left or something like that. A lot left. So go in your local area and find them. If you can only make one event, I would say I would drive you to the Tampa event. It's going to be absolutely epic. The lineup of speakers we have right there are I have a number. It's 20 speakers already. They're incredible speakers. We're going to have an after party that's going to be off the hook. It's an all-day event. It's in a beautiful location. We're estimating anywhere between 500 to 800 people will be there. Right now, it looks like we may have to limit it because I think the space only holds about 800. But anyway, so get online, sign up for the event. Only if you're intending to go, guys. We don't need you to sign up and try to hold a spot. That's not cool. So only if you're intending to go sign up and grab your spot, and make sure you go to the after party. Now, everything's free except the after party. You will have to pay a little bit for that because we have to pay for, the food and the bands and all that stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun. So go to Tampa Bay or go to Washington, D.C., where we're partnering with the Take Our Border Back crew and the Restoration Republic. Like 100,000 people will be at that event, we suspect. And if we can bring 1,000 from our group, that's going to be pretty cool. So enjoy the two songs, Unite by Joe Rosati, beautiful song by Tenor, and our outro. See you tomorrow in Fresno. Is that right?
Yeah.
Night. Thank you.